জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী জয় গোপী জনবল্লভ গিরিবরধারী জয় গোপী জনবল্লভ গিরিবরধারী যশোদানন্দন ব্রজ জনরঞ্জন যশোদানন্দন ব্রজ জনরঞ্জন যশোদানন্দন ব্রজ জনরঞ্জন যমুনা তীর বনচারে যমুনা তীর বনচারে জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারে জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারে হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে হরে Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mama Gaga Re 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 Sa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Chandra Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Prahlad Shima Jaya Prahlad Shima Prahlad Shima Jaya Prahlad Shima Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharyashtotarah Shri Hrivan Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srilaprabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranjaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatittama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter number 15, text number 18. Paravata Anyabhrita Paravatanyabhrita Sarasa Chakravaka Paravatanyabhrita Sarasa Chakravaha Paravakanyabhrita Sarasa Chakravaka Taityuha Hamsa Shuka Titiri Barhinam Yaha Datyuha Samsa Shuka Titiri बर्हिणां यः धात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहल विरमते अचिरमात्रम् उच्चै कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै भृङ्गाधिपा हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथामिव गायमाने भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृतः सारसा चक्रवाका दात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्र उच्चै भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृतः सारसचक्रवाका धात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृत सारसचक्रवाका धात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृतसारसचक्रवाका
दात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः
शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः
कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै
कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै
भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने
भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृतसारसचक्रवाका दात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै भृङ्गाधिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने पारावतान्यभृतसारसचक्रवाका धात्युहं च शुकतित्तिरिबर्हिणां यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चै
लिंगाधिपे हरिकथां विवगायमाने
लिंगाधिपे हरिकथां विवगायमाने पारावतान्यव्रतसारसचक्रवाक धात्यो हजस्यः कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमात्रमुच्चे लिंगाधिपे हरिकथामिव गायमाने. Word money. Paravata pigeons. Anyabhrata cuckoo. Sarasa crane. Chakravaka Datyuha Gallinule Hamsa Swan Shuka Parrot Titiri Partridge Barhina of the peacock Yaha Bitch Kolahalaha Timal Viramate stops Achiramatram temporary Uchaihi loudly Brangha Adhipe king of the bumblebees Harikatham the glories of the Lord Iva as Gayamane while singing. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srilaprabhupada. Translation: when the king of bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon, the cuckoo, the crane, the charvaka, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord. Translation with repetition. When the king of the bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon, the cuckoo, the crane, the charvaka, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord. Purport. This verse reveals the absolute nature of Vaikuntha. There is no difference between the birds there and the human residents. The situation in the spiritual sky is that everything is spiritual and variegated. Spiritual variegatedness means that everything is animate. There is nothing inanimate. Even the trees, the ground, the plants, the flowers, the birds, and the beast are all on the level of Krishna consciousness. The special feature of Vaikuntha is that there is no question of sense gratification. In the material world, even an ass enjoys his sound vibration. But in the Vaikuntha, such noise bursts as the peacock, the charvaka, and the cuckoo prefer to hear the vibration of the glories of the Lord from the bees. The principle of devotion service begins with hearing and chanting. are very prominent in the Vaikuntha world. Thus also Bhakti-vedanta purport. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-jana-jalakaya Chakshurvritam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu-padaya Krishna-peshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashadi Deshadarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
The description of the kingdom of God. This is a conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. Connect the previous chapter. Diti got inauspicious pregnancy. Two demons took the shelter of womb of the Diti. And by Kashyapa, Diti came to know that these two children is going to be trouble to all the living entity of all the world, three worlds. So Diti hold her pregnancy for longer time, so that at least those much of time they can be free from trouble to the world. So when Diti was holding her pregnancy of these two demons in very inauspicious, the darkness is spread all over the world. The sun is not properly seen. So all the devatas are feared about what the darkness is spreading. So they inquire from Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma understood the past history behind what going to happen behind this particular incident. So Brahma is recollecting and speaking to the devatas. Once upon a time, there is 4 Kumaras, the Manasaputra of Lord Brahma. They are traveling all over the material world as well as spiritual sky. And entering the Vaikuntha planet, that what Brahma is telling. Then later on, the Brahma is describing the Vaikuntha planet. So, earlier few verses, Brahma is speaking. Sriradhanvrindavanchandra, srilaprabhupada. Brahma is explaining how the Vaikuntha planets is described about opulence. So, Brahma is beginning with the Vaikuntha planets. The devotees of living in Vaikuntha planets are 400 form, like Lord of the 4 Chaturabhuja Vishnu form, and all the residents of the Vaikuntha planets are say 400. And also further, Brahma say, in everything in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha planets are living. There is no dead matter at all. There is no difference between one living entity and another living entity. A devotee as a human being, and there is maybe animal, there may be bird, all are of the same capacity. There is no any difference. And further, Brahma talks about the opulence of the Vaikuntha planet. Brahma speaks about in the Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their airplanes, accompanied by their wives and consort, and eternally sing the character and activities of the Lord. which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they derive even the presence of the blossoming Madhvi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey. So, the activities in the spiritual world always same. There is no difference. Mean all the activities are for the pleasure of the Lord and which are the glorification of the Lord. When they engaging in the glorification of the Lord or serving the Lord, there is also opportunity in the spiritual world for the sense gratification, self-sense gratification. It's a sense gratification of the Lord. And there is also opportunity for them sense gratification. Even though sense gratification is there available for individually to enjoy, and the residents of the Vaikuntha planet are not at all interested. That we say, when there is a presence of blossoming Madhavi flowers, even this Madhavi flower fragrance, so nice to smell and gratify oneself, they think that okay, this smell they're not interested, because it is this fragrance is driving away from the hearing about the Lord. People are more attracted towards the hearing of the Lord instead of their own sense gratification. In material world, everyone is interested in sense gratification instead of hear about the Lord. In the spiritual world, everyone is interested in hear about the Lord, not at all interested in the sense gratification. Here, there is available opportunity for them to sense gratification, till they are not interested. This is a, and furthermore you see, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha give first preference to the service of the Lord, not their own sense gratification. Serving the Lord in transcendental love yields such transcendental pleasure that, in the comparison to sense gratification, is counted as insignificant. In the spiritual world, sense gratification is inferior to the service to the Lord. But the pleasure they derive from the service to the Lord is superior to their own sense gratification. And further, Brahma is telling, when when a king of bee hums in high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there are, and in previous verse also there is a opulence, you say, like every inhabitant of the Vaikuntha planet, they travel in airplanes. Everyone. Not like here, okay, cycle, car will travel. There's everyone is going airplanes. So opulence. So much opulence here in the spiritual world. So further you see, now generally, a bee is very small. Honeybee. In the material, this is compared to a bird like cuckoo, bird like a peacock, parrot, pigeon. A bee is very small, because cuckoo is able to sing better than all other birds. A peacock is more beautiful than other birds. A honeybee is very small, insignificant. Still, and all these birds are engaged in their own activities for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay, cook is singing, Peacock is singing, pigeon is singing, parrot is singing, all the birds are singing their own melodious voice for the pleasure of the Lord. When they are engaging in their own activity, ultimately all activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And a very small honeybees start singing about the glories of the Lord. All those birds stop their singing and they start hearing the glories of the Lord. That's what you are saying. There is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon. Lull means gap, temporary gap of their singing. To hear the glories of the Lord. Who is glorifying here? A honeybee is glorifying. So if you see in the material world, okay, there is a superior, inferior. Right? Superior, him, okay, he is superior. So you to hear him, he is inferior. He to hear the superior. It's inferior to hear the superior. This is material law. In spiritual world, there is no inferior and superior. There is a variegatedness. There is a variegatedness in the spiritual world. The variegatedness is the mother of enjoyment. Right? No? Their variety is the mother of enjoyment. There is to enjoy, there must be variety should be there. But there is a variety, but there is no superior and inferior in the variety in the spiritual world. In the material world, if you see something is superior or something inferior, even though whatever the way we are trying to make equal, there is no equality in the material world at any time. There is always something is superior, something is inferior. This difference is there in the material world all the time. In the spiritual, natural, the equality, even though there is variegatedness, there is a variety, but equality. This is a speciality of spiritual world. And Prabhupada writing the purport, this verse reveals the absolute nature of Vaikuntha. Absolute nature means there is no variegate. Okay, something is superior, something is inferior. In material world, we see this superiority. The absolute nature of nature, Prabhupada, in this particular verse, it is we can understand that the Vaikuntha absolute nature. Everything is superior. There is no inferior and superior. Everything is superior. There is no difference between birds and there is a human residence. The situation in the spiritual sky is that everything is spiritual and variegatedness. Spiritual variegated means that everything animate. There is nothing is inanimate. Even the trees, ground, plants, flowers, birds and bees all are on the level of Krishna consciousness. There is only one activity is Krishna consciousness. Every activity is related to the Krishna consciousness. But here you see, even in Krishna conscious activities, we see something is superior, something is inferior. Generally, okay, someone is manager, higher post is superior. Someone is okay, some preacher, inferior. We feel that. Even though it is Krishna conscious activity, we see the difference. In the, okay, someone who is doing the arati service is, DT service is something is superior. Doing service in the kitchen, cooking is something is inferior. This is what the material world is. Because every actually reality is every activity of the Lord is absolute. There is no difference. But because of our conditioning, we experience something is superior and something is inferior. Because why? Where mind sense gratification is involved. Because my sense gratification, that is the reason I am thinking, okay, if I do this service, my sense gratification is the more, because I do this service, my sense gratification is. That is the reason he is seeing that even though it's Krishna service, something is superior, something is inferior. Actually, Krishna consciousness is absolute. That means our Krishna conscious practice is something is very, very mixed, not pure. Generally, for example, like there is a festival. The service of the Lord is absolute, means same. That means same means the pleasure derived from the service of the Lord is the same. Now generally, the Abhishekam is happening. You ask some devotees, you go and you do some preparation, prasadam for the Lord. And someone will, okay, you can watch the Abhishekam. And we prefer to watch the Abhishekam. That means it's my own Krishna, is my own sense gratification. Otherwise, you see, even cooking service as a Krishna service, you get the same enjoyment as enjoyment a person is getting out by just watching the Abhishekam of the Lord or engaging in the Abhishekam service. It should be the same. See, this is the difference between Vaikuntha planet and material one. That means, so when a person is completely purified and eligible to take resident in Vaikuntha planet, in such qualification, he'll experience in this material world also doing the every service of the same pleasure. You don't see any difference in services. This to understand. Okay, now here say Prabhupada say in here. The special feature of Vaikuntha is that there is no question of sense gratification. There is no question of sense gratification. Because pleasure is experienced by the service of the Lord is much, much superior to the one's own sense gratification. Sense pleasure they are also getting. Those sense pleasure what you are getting by the serving the Lord is superior to trying to enjoy oneself. Is one sense gratification. And you see a comparison, Prabhupada. In the material world, even an ass, a donkey. In the material world, even a donkey enjoys sound vibration. A donkey's singing is very hurting for everyone. It's very much disturbance. Because the donkey is, but still donkey what thinks? I am singing very nice. He enjoy his own singing. Same thing happened in temple also when you are singing some kirtan. Every devotee thinks that I am singing is the best than others singers. So you enjoy, everyone is enjoy his own singing, then others sing. This is reality. And again, why is thinking, okay, my singing is better than other singing? Because he is singing not for the Lord's pleasure. Even though, yes, the purpose of singing should be pleasure of the Lord. But actually, inside what is going on? How better I sing so that people are recognize my singing. So people how recognize my singing. This was the whole the preparation and melodious you are trying to sing better. Only purpose is okay, how other people are attracted to my song, not for the pleasure of the Lord. When you see, so that was the difference between a pure devotee and a conditioned soul. When Tansen is singing in Akbar's court, Akbar is thinking, okay, the Tansen is singing so nice. Then his teacher must be singing much more better. So I want to hear from him. Who is Haridas in Vrindavan? Haridas is a guru of Tansen. So Akbar with Tansen goes to Haridas and he asks Haridas, I want to hear. So your disciple is singing so nice. So I want to hear the singing from your mouth. And Haridas says, I don't want to sing for your sense gratification. My singing only for the Lord's pleasure. Haridas not sung for Akbar's pleasure. Haridas sing for the Lord's pleasure. These were the devotees. Devotees don't take any pleasure out of their own sings. They want to give. This singing should be pleasing to the Lord. So, these are the very important things to understand. The Brahma is describing the activities and the mood of the devotees in the Vaikuntha planet. Because in the material world, we always run after our own sense gratification. That's the reason we are not able to understand the higher taste of the service to the Lord, which is spiritual and higher pleasure. So further Prabhupada say, but in the Vaikuntha, such nice birds, peacock, charvaka and cuckoo, prefer to hear the vibration of the glories of the Lord from the bee. The principle of devotion service, the very important point Prabhupada is telling here. The principle of devotion service beginning with hearing and chanting are very prominent in the Vaikuntha. Singing and hearing and chanting is also principle in Vaikuntha planet. Were perfected in hearing, were perfected in 9 types of devotional services, are eligible to go to the Vaikuntha planet. Were perfected 9 kind of Navavidha Bhakti. They will eligible to go to the Vaikuntha planet. Who are enter the Vaikuntha planet, there also there is a hearing and singing in the spiritual world. Because enjoyment is there everywhere. But enjoyment in the spiritual world, which is centered around Krishna's pleasure. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the prominent out of 9 devotional services? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies, Shravana and Kirtana. Shravanam Kirtana. This is the most important. So, to purify the easy process in the Kali Yuga is chanting the glories of the Lord and hearing the glorification of the Lord. Other whatever devotion service are very difficult a common man to perform, and these are the 2 are very easy processes for devotional service. So very important shlokas the Brahma is described in the Vaikuntha planet. One should be, these are the description is given, what is the absolute nature of the Vaikuntha planet, and how we are conditioned soul is try to imitate same enjoyment is unavailable for the person is conditioned in the material world. So the Brahma is describing very nicely. So furthermore continue the description about the Vaikuntha planet. Okay, I'll stop here. Any questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki, srilaprabhupada ki.